Hey everybody, Chris from Six Wins here with Matt, here to talk about our best TV show bracket. And we are in the Sweet 16 of this thing, so we're getting to some really, really good matchups. We're on the comedy side, so we love talking comedy. And this matchup, Parks and Rec, which remember, it beat Seinfeld in the second round. That was a huge upset. We got Parks and Rec. We'll see if it can keep the momentum going against Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So we're here to give our thoughts. If you have thoughts, feel free to comment your thoughts. If this is your first time watching us, feel free to hit subscribe. We're doing these videos all the time, doing these brackets, running these brackets. And we're going to give our thoughts, and then we'll reveal who won at the end of the video. So Matt, do you want to take it away with some thoughts on Parks and Recreation versus the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
No. Yeah, no, I could definitely take it away. I just looked at you for like 10 seconds. Yeah, I could definitely take it away here with my thoughts first. Both of these shows I've seen more Fresh Prince. But I know this is a show you've probably seen all of the episodes at some point or another. I think when we were like growing up, like shows that were on were like, when you're a kid, you just watch shows out of order and it doesn't matter to you. Or like, you see an episode come on, you're like, have I seen this one? And then you realize you have, but it's just in a random order sometimes. You're like, oh, it seems like they're following a plot point from the last episode. But yeah, so for me, again, it was very surprising that Seinfeld went down. I expected we'd be talking about Seinfeld here.
Rip Seinfeld.
But Parks and Rec is, as you pointed out in our draft, is sort of that companion piece to The Office, because they're both a bit like mockumentary style, where like they're at this like workplace. It's workplace comedy, so it kind of fits into that genre, and then it also fits into that thing where like the people know they're being like filmed, or there's like some reason like they're following them around, so they're kind of like, so this is my job and this is why I do this, or like, I don't want to talk behind somebody's back, but like they really messed up that plan that I had and things like that. But Parks and Rec again kind of falls into that same Office thing where there's a lot of characters that give them a big range of comedy they can do. There's a lot of quirky characters and things like that. And I think we talked about the reason why I felt Parks and Rec was able to beat Seinfeld was probably Ron Swanson.
I was born ready. I'm Ron Swanson.
But yeah, I don't think you would have a lot of older males voting for Parks and Rec over Seinfeld if it didn't have that Ron Swanson character. I think he's kind of the unsung hero of that show. If it's gonna win a vote or like a poll, not that he's like necessarily everybody's favorite character, or that like he's the only one that's funny and things like that, because so many of the other characters are really funny and really great. But that's again, like we said, I think that's that tipping point. That's the wild card there. That's like their sixth man off the bench that helps them win these matchups against shows that we would have figured they'd beat, or that would beat them. And this matchup, Parks and Rec versus Fresh Prince, is really kind of a close toss-up. I guess at the end of the day, I like Fresh Prince, and it's one of those like just iconic comedies that is so memorable. It, really kickstarted the career of Will Smith into just orbit. It has one of the most memorable theme songs. It has one of the most memorable dances. Carlton, just people, kids that have been born well after Fresh Prince ended are like, oh, are you doing the Carlton? Because it, of course, it's like in Fortnite or in other things, some, YouTube shorts or stuff that they're watching. But so like it has so many iconic moments and things from it. But I think as comedy, and maybe this is unfair, but as time goes on, comedy adapts and changes, and you can get away with more too. But because of that, I will probably say Parks and Rec I would vote for, because I think they can do more because of the time it came out and the amount of characters they had. So I think it's a funnier show. I don't know if it's a better comedy, but because I can't distinguish there, I'm going to pick Parks and Rec because I think it's funnier, more laugh out loud funny.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to argue that point. I'm still going to go Fresh Prince though.
Yeah.
I think just kind of, I got a soft spot for it. It's my genre. While or it's my kind of right up my wheelhouse, I guess you would say. When a lot of kids are watching Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, I was watching Fresh Prince and Wayne's World and Ace Ventura. I was 5-6 years old, early 90s. For whatever reason, just comedy. I just always loved comedy. I enjoyed it more than anything else.
Yeah.
And Fresh Prince was just right during that time where I loved it. I loved Will. I loved Carlton. I loved Jazz and Handshake. I did that with a number of my friends. I loved just the reoccurring bits with Jazz. He'd just be hanging out. Uncle Phil would toss him out of the house. Just classic. And I think it had two of the most powerful episodes of any sitcom, too. The classic one we've all seen, the video of Will's dad walking out and he breaks down, and that one's really sad. But one that a lot of people don't talk about too is there was one where Will is resistant and hesitant, but he ends up caving in to some peer pressure because he's on the basketball team. He's got all these high expectations with his new job and keeping his grades up. So a kid, offers him speed, and he takes it. He doesn't take him, but he puts him in his locker. And then Carlton accidentally takes it thinking it was an aspirin or something like that. So yeah, then he goes to this dance where it starts funny. He starts doing the Carlton, but then it gets out of control, and then he ends up in the hospital, and then Will has to tell his Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv that it was his locker that Carlton got the pills from. So kind of Goosebumps talking about, super cool premise, and they played it to perfection. And then as I'm talking, there was one more that was pretty, gets you in the feels, where they're at a bank and Will gets shot. And Carlton goes on this kind of tirade about the justice system and how it's not fair, and how they're never going to catch this guy. And, it's just a cool story. And Uncle Phil, if you're making a bracket of best TV dads, give me Uncle Phil to go all the way. Love that guy. Rest in peace. But James Avery was his real name. But if I'm going down, I'm not going to disagree with Parks and Rec probably being more laughs per minute, more laughs. I'm going to go, my vote's still Fresh Prince though.
Yeah, that's totally fair. That's where it's maybe even more tricky with comedies.
Right.
Because like we've talked about, a lot of some of the comedy shows and some of my favorites are not the funniest laugh out loud ones, but are the ones that were able to be sitcom-y or primarily comedy genre, but do really serious episodes and touch on really interesting topics in a comedy way instead of just spouting the same serious sayings and I can't think of the word I'm looking for. The adverbs, not the adverbs. The adages. Yeah, all the adages we say about drugs and alcohol and things like that. And when you're able to touch on those difficult topics in a comedy show, and you still take them seriously, but I think there's a difference in how comedy can approach those topics than just a straight-laced drama or a straight-laced basically PSA, public service announcement about this is bad. And so BoJack Horseman and Futurama for me are better comedies, even though they're not as funny as other shows, because they do that. And I think Fresh Prince did that as well. It really hammered home important lessons and stories and ways for young people to understand family and family dynamics, some of the pitfalls of growing up, drugs too much, taking on too much, and doing too many, just having too much thrown on you and stress and how to handle it and things like that. And so it's totally fair to choose that as the better comedy show.
Comedy show, yeah.
Because it's not better show. It's not better show that's a comedy. It's better comedy show. Comedy's the adjective, but we're talking better shows. You know what I mean? This is semantics, but it's important. And maybe that's why when we threw this one up. I mean, unless you have anything else.
That was good. No.
Well, maybe that's why when we ask people which is the better comedy show, Parks and Rec versus Fresh Prince, the winner moving on was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Moving on, I started it. You're singing at home probably. Fresh Prince is moving on to take on The Office. So we'll see how that one goes. The winner heading to the Final Four.
Yeah, and last thing, I will say Fresh Prince, while it was a 4 seed, it's still the lowest seed so far in the Elite 8. The rest of them have been like 1s and 2s.
Yeah.
All 1s and 2s. Nah, Twilight Zone. I'm wrong.
I was going to say Randy Orton too.
Well, it's been a TV show.
Okay, yeah.
Randy Orton was a 5.
So long, everybody!